Welcome to Life List, a birding podcast.
Hello, welcome everyone. This is Life List, a birding podcast. I am George Armstead here with my co-host Molly Brown and our good friend and guest host, Jason Hall.
Hey there. Good to have you back, George.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard our intros lately, but we've been missing you.
I appreciate it. I did hear your intros, yeah, because you guys were talking a little bit of smack here and there, and I understood that they were like, you better tune in
faster than we would have guessed. Yeah. Well,
I got to enjoy it live. I got to wake up every morning to hear George say welcome and Philoskopus.
That's right. Yeah. You did.
So, yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of Philoskopus talk on in our last couple weeks, Jason and I. Yeah. And how are you adjusting, Jason? We've been back like a week now. You feeling well rested?
You know, I was coming out of the jet lag by like Tuesday. And by Wednesday, my body was like, hey, bonus virus from the plane ride or something from someone. And so today is my first day without that. So, it's taken me about a week to get back to normal. But, happy to just be at a normal elevation for normal humans. And, which we'll talk about. And, my wife got me a cheesesteak the other day, and I've never appreciated one so much.
Yes. No beef for a whole month for me. That was top of the order when I got back as well. Important business.
Mm-hmm.
Molly, what's happening in West Virginia? You staying out of trouble out there?
I'm doing the usual. Yeah. It is pouring the rain right now and doing all the April things today. So that's pretty fun. But we're recording this on April 14th. And this is the point where I'm like chomping at the bits for migration to pick up. Because we've got a few early things that have come in. And now it's kind of the calm before the storm. So I'm happy and I'm anxious.
Are y'all getting little pops of yellow-throated warblers too there at that elevation or?
Yeah. Yellow-throated warblers have come through. Louisiana water thrush are in. I had a common yellow-throat off the porch this morning, so got a little bit. Had a barn swallow today.
Just
we are, we're right there.
That is great. Yeah, I'm looking forward to all the birds that I forget exist and having them come and bless me with their sound one day. Because I feel like every day is kind of like its own little holiday of like the first, not even the first scene, the first herd, right? The first house wren that just loses its mind in my backyard that morning. It's going to be a great day. It's going to be a great day. So I hope they come to you quickly, Molly.
Thank you. Me too. Yeah. A lot of times I'll see something for the first time of the year in the car, and Jimmy gets so mad because I yell, I scream, scare the crap out of him. And it happens. It'll be like there's a field that has bobolinks, and I'll see one sitting on the wire one morning, and I know it's going to happen, and I hope he's not with me because he won't like it. Because it happens every year. But, good stuff.
That there are certain ones like that. Like you mentioned house wren. That's a real, the first singing house wren of the year around here. That's okay, this is, it's here.
Mm-hmm.
One of the other ones for me is like a buddy of mine. He still remembers this from high school where it was late April, and I heard a chimney swift from inside our classroom, and I was like, "Chimney swift, it's springtime!" And he was like, "Is that like an expression, like chimney swift?" And I was like, "No, it's a bird. It's like calling out there," and he's still he'll be like, this time of year, I'll be like, "Chimney swift, it's springtime," Probably barely knows what a chimney swift is even still. But
this was high school, George?
Yep. Yeah. I was a nerd even then. Yeah. Yeah. Those are a couple of those are ones that I really, hook into, and I'm like, all right, it's on,
Yeah. I was out in the backyard today. I was telling you guys before the recording started, just trying to pace myself, right? Because I don't want to disturb my little invertebrate homies while they're still making their way out of their little spaces, but it's those non-native plants that start to come up early and you start itching. And I have I went and made it rain at this place called Outhouse Arboretum. They have their early natives out for sale. And so I got like 20 for $100. And they're just sitting in their pots. And I got spots for them, but I got to go fight this mugwort first.
Oh, yeah.
And some other stuff. So I told today, I was like, I'm just going to go out, mow the lawn, which to me is just a useful dog carpet, right? And then, I'll do a little bit every day, but it's really hard this time of year, right? Because you want to see every year I get excited to plant more natives because, I hang out with people like George and he's like, oh, I got this in my backyard and this and this. And I'm like, damn it, I got to get my life together. But you can only do so much every spring, right? Without totally just ripping up your whole backyard. So I get excited about it and just got to pace myself. But it was like 85 out there today. And if you know me, I hate sweating. And so don't ask me to go bird. Like one of the first times I birded with George was in like August.
Oh my God.
At like a 3 p.m. bird outing.
That's one of the hottest
Why?
bird walks.
Like,
Where did you
I don't
go?
know. It was bird. It was Bird Philly, right? Like we were doing.
It was like July, right? I think it was like late July.
We were just sweating.
Yeah.
Just, the only birds out were song sparrows. Like,
it was tough, man. It was tough sledding. We had good company, so that helped.
We did. I was like, good thing I like George because I ain't about this life. Military.
That was rough. Yeah.
It seemed like you've spent plenty of time not sweating over the past month because you were in some
Accurate.
snow.
I mean, I was doing other things. George was all over India. I'm pretty sure he has partial citizenship at this point. Based on the number of birds he's seen there. And my time in the Himalayas was it was not sweaty at all. There were other sensations that we can talk about.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to hear about it. I'm distracted. There are mayfly hatches just covering, and they're all coming to the window right now. And there's a pair of phoebes hovering on the window right here, just picking them off as we go.
Yeah.
They're clinging to the screen. It's cool.
I envy you guys that have windows when you do podcasts. I'm in my basement.
This is new for me. I told you I moved locations. I'm in our little extra bedroom cabin, and usually I'm sitting facing a wall, and I'm jealous of the guys listening or doing all their watching, and now I get to partake. So I get it. I understand where you're coming from. I'll try not to be too distracted.
Sure.
Yeah. I'm enjoying looking outside. Usually I'm not here. I'm in our kind of back porch room, and usually I'm in the basement as well, where I've got a little room. I've got a little window out. I've got a lot of window, and it can be distracting. But right now, we were talking right before we got on, the dogwood in our backyard just started blooming. And it is I got to say that it is not well located within the yard for birding in that it eats up a lot of my sky. But it is such a goddamn beautiful tree. They're like, I could never in good faith touch it,
True.
And it's a good vireo tree. I feel like dogwoods in general are good vireo trees, but I've seen, I've had Philadelphia vireo in that tree. I've had warbling vireo, blue-headed vireo, red-eyed, routinely. It's a good vireo tree. I got to keep it, and it's this time of year. It's pretty absurdly good looking. So, and it just popped after being away for a couple days. I came back and I was like, oh, so I'm basking in the glory of this flowering dogwood right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of different signals. It'd be a great icebreaker question to ask someone like, if you couldn't choose typical signs of spring, cherry blossoms or robins coming out of the forest back to your lawn, what would you choose as your top 3 signs of spring, right? And so specific birds, specific trees blooming that are not cherry blossoms, I think would be really cool,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's my thoughts. This is the first thunderstorm we've had in I don't know how long.
Yeah.
That feels like a sign of spring.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I I forget about the winter that we had too. It's like,
oh my God.
we
Oh
had
my
so
gosh.
much snow. I'm sure like you guys had some in West Virginia too, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, like
We did.
it seems like such a far-fetched idea at this point. Like I have this video of me, I think I put it on Instagram, going to get my ABA magazine out of the mailbox. And the snow is piled up over my mailbox. And all the comments are like, did anyone else notice the snow? Like it was just a wall of snow and then he reached into it to his mailbox. It just doesn't seem real.
Jason, while we're talking about your yard,
yeah,
you gotta give us the rundown on the long-eared owl.
My special guest.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So, I don't know, it was like a Saturday or a Sunday a few weeks ago, about a month ago before I left for India. And my neighbor, Danielle, who's also a birder, texted me and was like, yo, I have an owl in my tree in my front yard. And she's 2 doors down from me. And we live in this development. We all have red maple trees in our front yard, right? And so it's kind of a monoculture. And so I'm thinking it's probably a great horned owl or, you know, some bird just migrating through, because it was when we had that kind of warm wind coming from the north. And so a lot of things were starting to move, a lot of waterfowl and stuff. I go out there and it's a long-eared owl just sitting in a bare naked red maple tree, right? Like I walk out of my front door and I look to the right and it's right there in the tree. And so, you know, I called a few people. I think Danielle called a few people and they came over and checked it out, but it just slept there all day. And the funny part was I was standing across the street from it and I would watch it walk unsuspecting, or it would watch unsuspecting people in my neighborhood do their normal thing. So I have like very consistent characters that walk their dogs or are out with their kids, and they would just watch them walk underneath it, you know? And so I'm thinking, dusk came, it took off. I'm thinking, all right, you know, it just kept making its way north. The next day or 2 days later, I come outside. It's Monday morning. I go to boxing really early in the morning on Monday mornings. And so it's still dark out. And I hear a woodcock flying around my neighborhood. So I was like, count it, yard list, right? Yeah. So
wow.
I'm hearing the sonation of the wings. And so as I'm standing in the middle of my street in the dark trying to record this, a bird swoops right over my head and is chasing another bird in the street. And it was 2 owls. So the one owl lands. It's a great horned owl that was chasing another owl. And I assume it was the long-eared owl. And so it landed in the tree and it's hanging out there looking at me in the dark, and then it takes off, right? Go to boxing. I come home. It's light out. I get back. I get ready to take my son to school. And the crows across the street are freaking out. And I look in my neighbor's like, I don't know, he's got one of these like tall bushes, right? And the long-eared owl is just right across the street from my house in the bush, hiding from the crows, you know? And so when I got home from taking my son from school, I just set my scope up at my front door, and I could, any point during the day that day, I just walked away from my work from home computer and went and looked at the owl from my front door. So
wow.
It was quite insane. It's quite a yardless bird.
Yes, I'll say.
I don't know that it'll get any better than that. I was just happy with the woodcock audio. But yeah, I look at all these trees differently now, you know, because I realize and the fact that it stayed a few days, like it, you know, it was making its way around, even while getting chased by a great horn, you know. So
yeah,
I didn't even know the great horns.
That's got to be about the scariest thing that bird encounters is a great horn.
It's got to be. It's got to be. And the way they both, like, at least the great horn, when it came, like I was literally looking up trying to get the woodcock recording, and I felt the wind, the great horn just right over my head, and then I saw the floppy long-eared flying in front of me. Man, I feel like my neighborhood is a different place at night. So I got to figure out how to set up some neighborhood appropriate night vision cameras.
Serious.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a sweet bird though. That's the best part of the story is my neighbor across the street where the owl was kind of resting from the crows during the day. His name is Gene. He's retired from U.S. Postal Service. Sweet older man. And I showed him the bird, you know, because he was out fussing around in his yard. And he looked at her and he goes, "You can stay here as long as you want, Mama. I'll chase off those crows for you." But he did it in a real heavy, like Delco accent. And I was like, "Oh, this is the best man in the world," you know.
Nice.
So, you know, and he was just smitten by it. So, yeah, it's stuff like that when you get to share it with your neighbors, and had all the neighborhood kids come over and look at the owl, and they were like, "That's fake," and I'm like, "No, not," So yeah, it's good stuff. I think I am awaiting challengers out there for the best yard bird in 2026. So I am accepting all takers.
That's gonna be tough to beat, man. Tough to beat, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can keep your Vireo tree.
That might be as good as it gets for me. We'll see.
I'm like so jealous of your yard list all the time because of that ridge you're on and some of the stuff you see. So just allow me this victory, please.
I'll tell you the one I want right now, and is swallow-tailed kite. These like halcyon blue skies right now. Little southerly wind, like feels very good for swallow-tailed kite. And I do remember there was one, I think it was 2 years ago, and it was seen like half a mile from here or something. And I was like, crap. Like if I had just been outside, I might have seen it, I wasn't birding it, at that point in the day. And I was like, damn it. But so, yeah, I'm holding on. I'm keeping both fingers and toes all crossed. So we'll see.
Yeah, as long as your Vireo tree doesn't block your view,
Yeah, which is entirely possible.
That might be the moment where conflict arises. Decisions have to be made.
Yeah, my Kristen would definitely murder me if I did anything to that tree. Yeah,
I hear that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, spring is definitely in the air, and it's only going to be getting, that's the fun thing, is it's only going to be getting better for a while. The May apples are pushing up around here, and just so much to see. But yeah, looking back, you guys, so I just spent a month in India and basically all of March, and I did really 2 trips. One to Assam, to 3 national parks, the most famous being Kaziranga, which is one of the most famous parks in all of India, and also Nameri National Park and Manas National Park. And you guys were on the scout trip, of course, that we did last year, our great intrepid gang. And so I went and did the trip. As Molly has detailed for the masses, she was unable to join this year for reasons of war. Yeah, but
go figure.
But the trip went forward, and it was fascinating in a number of respects. In some ways, how it was similar, and we saw similar things, and there was sort of a familiar rhythm to it from our trip, and then some things that were very different. And one thing that is going on, and I feel like is going on really around the world right now with climate, is that weather patterns are really changing. So this trip was scheduled and timed for the dry season. We had a great group of 16 guests that were supposed to join me, Molly, and Surya Ramachandran, and a team of folks on the ground. The war made it such that Molly could not join, and one of our other friends, Michelle, was unable to join. But everybody else got in, and the trip actually, once we were on the ground, went pretty smoothly. But there was some rain. Here we are in the dry season, the best laid plans, and rain ended up being a feature. Thankfully, not every day, but it's an 11-day trip, and pretty much the whole second half there was at least some rain. I would say that we got pretty lucky in that a couple of those days where the rain was heavy were largely travel days. And so mostly on one of those days, at least, we were just mostly driving. There was not much birding to be done that day anyway. And so if it was going to rain one day almost entirely, that was a good day for it. And then I'd say kind of miraculously, we had a number of other days where it rained, but like before we went out in the morning or after we got back at night or like during the lunch/siesta. And then we'd go out and maybe it'd spit on us a little bit, it might be like, a little bit of rain, but like we actually avoided it. It made roads more challenging than they normally are. It in some areas, it meant that bird sound was not maybe what we would have expected. But in a few instances, when the rain would stop, you'd get a real proliferation of birdsong where like birds are like, whoa, this isn't supposed to happen. We're not expecting rain right now. And hey, that was pretty nice. And then they go crazy for like, a couple hours in the afternoon. So rain was a factor on that Safari Assam trip in a way that we didn't expect at all, really. And that none of the local guides that we were working with, they were all like, yeah, this doesn't really happen. So that was different.
That really helps to hear.
Yeah, it's always like womp womp,
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, the thing about this, we call it Safari Assam, and just about every day is safari style when you're in an open air vehicle for the day,
That is
right?
correct.
So
Yeah.
I assume you weren't popping tops on your Jeeps every time it rained.
There was one day in Manas where we had to do it a few times, where we had to throw the top up and pull it down, a couple times during outings. But mostly we didn't. We rolled with it. People had raincoats. Those of us that Jason saved me on the second trip because I actually had been using my raincoat as a dust cover for the first part of Safari Assam. And then suddenly, the way it is, you're on these sort of dirt roads and then we hit the highway and I think my raincoat just sort of, just sort of like blew off like a sail and I never saw it. So somebody hopefully, on
nice
the
raincoat.
Assam Trunk Road has a very nice REI fatigue green raincoat that is I spent a little bit of money on, but yeah, thankfully Jason for the second trip was able to bring me a raincoat I could use.
That's right.
That's
Straight
funny.
importation, white glove service.
That's actually why you went, right? George
That's
just
right.
called and
That's
said he
right.
needed
I
that.
was called into service for our dear brother George, so he didn't get rained on. I'm looking at your trip report. Your trip report from this last one. You guys had some good birds there. You got striated heron on there.
Yeah.
I don't know that we had great looks at that one before. So you guys made out pretty damn well. I mean,
we did actually.
Still close to 300 species.
Yeah, it was similar total to the trip that the three of us did with the rest of the gang last year. And one thing was there's a couple real signature birds. Like,
sure.
Arguably the rhino is kind of the signature mammal, right? Indian rhino. This Kaziranga is where like 2/3 of the whole population is, maybe actually more than that. I think 70% of the population is there. And so it's a real treat to see those. But one of the other, big targets is to see the Bengal floricon.
Right.
Which for folks that may not be unfamiliar, it's in the bustard family, sort of like a mini ostrich, kind of roaming the grasslands of Southeast Asia, but it's a truly endangered, it's a critically endangered bird, technically. There's, what is it down to? I think maybe less than 400 birds now.
Wow.
So, and this is kind of the stronghold is Manas National Park. So our trip last year, remember we kind of barely found one right at dusk. And those,
right.
It was
because
not
our trip was in
satisfying.
January.
yes.
So it was outside of their breeding season, right? So we spent hours out there.
Yeah. Now, we did have bonus pied harrier that
We
kept us
did.
company.
Yeah.
Right?
And a beautiful male like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that made up for traipsing through these.
We did. And we
hot,
met some
dry
local
rice fields.
researchers.
Yeah.
Oh,
we
Yeah,
did.
that
That's
was
right.
a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
But that's the cool part of birding. I think it was one of the first things I asked you, George, on whether you guys got the Florican. So it's nice to hear that you did. And, if you haven't Googled it, folks, it's just a really striking bird, the male, with just kind of jet black from head down to the mid body. And, it's a true bustard. And if you've ever been to Africa or otherwise, right, it's got similar shape, but it's just, to me, a little bit more fancy.
Mm-hmm. And if you're Googling, you need to watch the videos too, because you saw some displays, right?
Oh, man.
We saw a little bit of it, just a little bit. And you had to be like looking at the bird while it did it because it's pretty, it's only like a 4-second display or something like that. They kind of rise up flapping and then sink down. I think we only saw that. Like, I don't think everybody in the group saw that, but I think maybe somewhere between a third and half folks probably at least saw part of the display. But they are doing it that time of year. And we did have the males flying around. And we also saw a female, which is actually really rare to see females. Females are just kind of generally more retiring in their habits. They stay more in the deep grass a lot of the time. So like one of the local guides we were working with, he was saying he'd been guiding, for 4 years now in Manas, and this was only the 4th female he'd ever seen. So, the guy lives there and guides there professionally. Basically, his average is seeing 1 female a year. So that was special. And I think one of the other real signature birds that you guys will remember our experience well, because I have yet to have a normal experience at this place, is Mary. And Jason actually got to go back there this year and to go look for the white-winged duck, or as they used to call it, white-winged wood duck. And this is the state bird of Assam, and another critically endangered bird. I believe there's, again, somewhere, they're in the hundreds, but less than 1,000, I think maybe less than 800. And again, I think there's more in this part of India than anywhere else in their range. And they're sneaky. They like to stay deep, buried in these wet woods. And, that hunting is an issue for them. So they are pretty wary of people.
Yeah. I don't know that I've ever tried to creep so quietly and so quickly for any other bird other than this one. So when we went the first time, we only had the audio, right? I think our homie Jeff Kinney got some
another
good audio
crazy day. Yep.
Right?
Yeah. Crazy
day, right? But this last time, like we were with, I think, the same armed guard, and he just had us traipsing right in there. It was like a straight, Saturday morning, middle-aged women power walk straight through this park, right? And it's humid, and you get back in there, and it's you can tell they're trying to maintain the habitat for those ducks specifically, right? This kind of standing water, quiet, surrounded by kind of forest edge on all sides, and these big trees and roots coming out of the water. And we're all looking for it, right? And the guide's pointing. He's like, "It's right there." It's but he doesn't speak great English, and so he's trying to describe it, and people are trying to figure it out. Eventually, everybody got on it, but it was just its head, like from the neck up, and you could see this bright bill and this speckled face. And so the picture I posted on Instagram, I literally say in my caption, like, "See if you can find it," because I just posted the full frame, and I was like, "See if you can find this little silly face looking at you." And I think we took 1 or 2 steps too far, and that thing got up out of there, and it's so aware of everything, And I asked the guard, I was like, how many are here? Because I just thought it was a couple, right? And he was like, no, it's like 70, but but they're,
Wow.
they're spread across everywhere. And I'm not sure how well how often they're doing the count, but it's just a special bird, right? And you don't blame it for being wary of humans,
Yeah.
So you get even a little look or a little sound, and it's quite satisfying because you know that bird is in peril, right? And credit to the folks in the area. I think they're trying their best to do what they can to keep that bird going. So definitely something you should look forward to if you ever go out there. And the whole journey to get there is fantastic. You get on this wooden canoe, you sing some pirate shanties on your way across the water.
That you do.
You get greeted across the water by river terns and river lapwings, and if you're lucky, some small Pratt and Cole, which George knows are like one of my favorite birds ever. And you have a nice walk through the forest, and there's tons of other birds. I think when we went there a couple of years ago, I was just enamored by the small Notalva that was flying around, and we had some of the green doves that were there. So it's the Mary is a special experience. I'm not sure there's anything else in Assam like it. All the other parks have their own kind of flavor. I was noticing though, I do have to say, we had a few great hornbills and oriental pied hornbills when we went on our scouting trip. Y'all cleaned up. You had like 70 something great hornbills, and what is it like?
Yeah. And the pied hornbills too.
Yeah, like you had 24. Like that's insane.
They were definitely paired up and more noticeable and more vocal and moving around. That was one thing that was noticeable for sure. Between our trip and the trip this year, was the hornbills were definitely more on the move and just more active and conspicuous. I would say the other way, the one that was kind of the opposite of that was the Hargula with the greater adjutant.
Really?
Like our trip to January last year, we just were running into those all the time.
We were,
and we had a lot of encounters with them, and on this trip we actually had to hunt around for them a bit. And
wow,
there's a couple known locations, and we did well with them. In fact, we had one spot where we had 5 species of stork in sight at once, which I was telling folks,
wow.
I was like, guys, that's probably going to be the only time in your life that you do that, And that was pretty cool. And that was the only, I guess there was one other spot we could see it. We saw a nest, but the bird was pretty high up, a severe angle. It was nice to see them actually out foraging with all these other water birds. There's a huge herd of elephants crossing behind them. So that was one big difference. I will say that on the tour, the Safari Assam tour this year, I think our most memorable day was the white-winged duck day. And I think an aspect of that hike, that it's one of the few days that you're on foot. Most of the rest of the time you are in safaris. That day you're on foot. You take the boat across the river, and then you're on foot for the whole morning, basically. Come back for lunch, or I guess we had a picnic lunch. But it's on your mind that there are big animals in this park.
Sure is.
There are tigers. There are elephants. There's a lot of elephant sign around. And so, you're pretty alert and aware as it is. And the way it worked out this year, we actually were driving in there and to where we get the boat across the river. Excuse me. And I was like, oh my God, there's a freshly roadkill banded crate, which is like a very venomous snake, not an aggressive snake, but it's highly venomous, but a really beautiful snake. Like it's, just alternating bands of bright yellow and black, and something I've been wanting to see. And that's unfortunately the first one I saw was this roadkill one, but it kind of just, knocked me back. I was like, oh my God, wow.
I'm about to walk through here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that was like an eye opener. And then we take the boat across, and almost immediately it starts raining. And at this point, we left the vehicles behind, like, we're kind of out there. We made it to the ranger station, and there's like a gazebo there. And we were looking around, and Surya and I were like, yeah, you know what? I think we better hang out at this gazebo, because you can hear, it's like there's thunder, there's lightning, it's like a real storm is coming in, and it just downpours for like an hour or so, and finally we're like, the rain got lighter, but we were like, we can't really go birding in this weather. It's not really birdable. But what we could do is just walk straight to the pond where the white-winged duck is and see if we can find it. And, we're going to get wet. There's no way around that. But, we've come this far. This is one thing we can actually do in this weather.
Right. The one bird in that park that you were looking for there. Yeah.
Exactly. So we're like, all right, folks, and a couple folks decided to stay back. And the rest of us, and they were like, we can just bird from the gazebo. And they did see some good stuff. They enjoyed like some wedge-tailed green pigeons and, a few other birds, Asian fairy bluebirds and stuff that, we didn't necessarily see as well. So that was cool for them. And the rest of us, we set out and we basically made a beeline. It was like a half-hour walk there. And I actually think that the rain helped us in getting good views of those birds because there's so much dripping and sound with the rain that I don't think they could really hear us moving in the forest.
Oh, that's the
pretty
key.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's the key. Because, man, we were smashing on big, crunchy leaves, traipsing through the forest like a bunch of dumb hominids. So I'm surprised we got to look at all,
Yeah.
But man, that's great.
I think the rain basically like cloaked our sound and our movement to a large degree. So we got in there and we got good views. And then we were like, all right, good views, some photos, some video. If you go to the Hillstar Nature site and check the trip reports, you can see Surya got a nice Digiscope video in the trip report there. And then we hightailed it back, high fives. And then we're like, we get back to the gazebo, we're high fiving, we're feeling the vibe. It actually rain let up a little bit. We did a little bit of birding. And then all of a sudden someone's like, is this a leech? We started to realize that the rain, the unseasonable rain had just brought these leeches out. And I stopped counting when I got to 10 leeches. And I think I picked up the most of anybody. And I didn't have any attached, however. But that was not going to be the last time we'd encounter leeches. And over the course. But another cool thing, just to wrap up, put a bow on Safari Assam, great trip overall. And I tell people to check the trip report. We will do that trip again at some point, not next year, but maybe the year after. But we got one of the coolest things also that day was we got back. The rain continued, actually. We took a siesta. And rain stopped about 3:34 in the afternoon. We decided to go out, and a huge termite hatch happened. This huge termite happened, and birds were going crazy. Large hawk cuckoos were going around hawking insects, and all sorts of birds were out just hawking these termites. And all these birds got super active. Even we had this beautiful brown boobook that came out right at dusk. He was getting in on the action. All those macaques, remember around our lodge there in Nameri? Those always trying to get into your house, and trying to get into your bungalow. They were out, and they're just like, they're like reaching, grabbing with their fists at these termites and just like, them in their mouths.
Oh, God.
And that was really dramatic. Our one friend, Jen, her room actually had a hatch in it, and there was hundreds of termites coming out of her room, but we were able to patch it up pretty good, clean it up.
Did you let the macaques in to clean up?
Exactly. We should have.
Clean up crew.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell you on that trip report, the one thing that almost made me throw my computer out the window was the pictures of the brown boobook.
Yeah.
We didn't have looks that good. We were at nighttime and just kind of listening, kind of seeing silhouettes, but these are insane. So I really encourage folks, like a trip report, like when someone sends me a trip report, I immediately judge its quality based on how many pictures are in it, how many species are pictures. So when I see like plus 50% of the species have pictures, it's like nirvana, because I'm like, oh, I'm going to enjoy this. Let me go make a cup of coffee, So shout out to who's the homies here? Cliff and what is it? Mary, for the
Mary
pictures they
Kimberly,
uploaded.
Cliff Halverson. They took a lot of images. They got really good stuff.
Yeah. Solid trip.
Yeah.
Not the same as Arunachal.
Not quite the same as Arunachal Pradesh. Yeah.
Totally different vibe. up
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah. Yeah, just to kind of like orient people. This is, again, still in the northeast part of India, what they call the Seven Sister States in the northeast. And Arunachal was probably the Eagle's Nest Wildlife Sanctuary is kind of it's a really well-known birding hotspot for some of the best Himalayan birding you can do. And so we wanted to go check this area out, and me and Jason and a gang of other Philly birders rolled in there, and we were looking for tragopans and old world flycatchers of all different sorts, and the Bagunlaya Sichla was a big target. And it was parts of 13 days was the main trip. And then Jason went on and with some of the gang, and they hit Meghalaya as well.
Yeah.
For a few more days of birding at the end. But again, weather was a significant variable in this.
It sure was. Was those first few days.
Well, so same general region, right? But the thing about the Assam safari that we do, when you fly there from Delhi, you go right by the Himalayas, and it's beautiful, but you're in the lowlands. And this, I mean, what was the lowest elevation that you stayed at? This was a totally different ballgame. I know that.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the elevation is in Guwahati, but that's the first night, so you're reasonably low there.
Yeah. That's your starting point. Yeah.
Yeah, but then we go up to Tenga for the first kind of real night of the trip, which I think is over 5,000. And I think to get there, we got 6,000.
Yeah, 6,500 feet in Tenga. And I think we went up from there.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay.
For pretty much the rest of the trip.
Yeah.
So we come down in the valleys here, but the valleys they're like faux valleys. Like you're in a valley, but it's in a valley in between two mountains that are already 14,000 feet tall. So you're just a few thousand feet down. So, you could be at 8,000 feet elevation, but you're next to a river, so it doesn't quite compute all the time. But those first few days as we went up to Eagle's Nest and stayed at Bampu Camp, that was the first moment where I was like, oh, the Himalayas are not just all terrifying, massive, icy monsters, right? And snowy monsters. Like they are just such a huge range of, I can call them foothills if you want to, but they're real mountains, and they're just covered in forest, like just covered in habitat, and all the sounds are different. But we also had, we had the rain. So we also fought leeches for 3 days, right? But we got some great birds. Yeah, we got some great birds, But this kind of birding, where Assam was, you get to be in a vehicle most days, outside from the Mary trip. This was all hiking and walking. We really weren't, like, the vehicles were just a means to transport to the next place that you were going to get 10,000 steps, But I love that because sometimes when you're in a vehicle, you feel like you can't really spend the time you want to spend. And so by walking, you can spend 5 minutes with a bird or a few birds that you wouldn't have seen if you were driving past, So the interesting part about that at Bampu Camp was that was the first taste I think a lot of us got of like, yeah, this is a vast forest, but the habitat's so big, these birds don't owe us nothing. They're not just going to be here. So you just walk and you come, and like mixed flocks was like the key, right? Like I didn't realize that, right? Because we talk about mixed flocks on the East Coast. It's like migration based, but there it's like that's like a way of life. I feel like these minivets and red-tailed minlas and
full
vedas, right? You got some yellow cheek tits in there, like just everybody comes out to play, and so you just walk into this just party, and you hang out there for a while. So that was interesting.
This sounds more akin to cloud forest birding that you think about in the New World and how you go about that.
Yep, that is it. It reminds me of some of the birding we would do in the Andes. Is like you're walking remote two track roads, hoping to bump into flocks, maybe looking for a few particular specials in certain spots that either look good for them or are known locations for them.
Mm-hmm.
But it reminded me quite a lot of the style of birding was kind of like birding in the Andes. I would say that one of the things I was most looking forward to seeing, and I'd seen a little bit before in places like Corbett National Park in northern India, was were the flocks that Jason's talking about. And our first real morning leaving Tenga, we headed into the wildlife sanctuary. And, on any trip, there's always like kind of early trip anxiety, like birds start being called out and it's like, are we going to see that again? Or is this it? And you don't really have time. And these flocks, sometimes there's 50, 100 birds in these flocks. And you're hearing all these names for the first time, and people are, what? Like, which Yuhina? What the hell's a Yuhina? And you're like, you're just holding on for dear life, and and I'm trying to remember which. I think I forget which. Maybe it was the rufous capped. I forget one of the fulvetas we had. I think it was the fulvetas. Like, we'd seen a few flocks of birds, and like I really like those black-throated tits, which are just so damn cute, and they always seem to be a feature, like with the yellow cheek tits, and there's a lot of good birds sort of in the chickadee genre, and then there's a lot of the Philoscopus warblers, as we talked about the leaf warblers. There's a lot of them, and they're very confusing. But that first morning, I remember seeing a group of one of the fulvetas. I'm struggling to remember which one it is right now. And I think it was yellow-throated. And I was like, oh, I see it. And there's like some other birds with it. And then I realized all the birds were that fulveta. And they were moving through the understory like a tumbleweed, just like a tumbleweed through the vegetation, and I was just like, whoa, like, no, I've not seen that thing before. Like that's not something I've seen. And then, and then you see these flocks of what you realize are just like pure flocks of one Yuhina or another. And Yuhinas, for folks that don't know, kind of maybe recall a titmouse a little bit in that they're a small crested bird, but they're actually closely related to white eyes. And generally, I'd say white eyes are a pretty boring bunch of birds, but Yuhinas are cool, man. And we got to see a lot of those. Yeah. So we got off to a good rollicking start there that first morning. And I think after an hour, everyone was both thrilled and sort of furious at what they had and had not seen,
Oh, yeah.
Plus, like, you're in that habitat. They're not just coming and sitting out nice for you. See, if you're trying to take pictures, like we all got, like after like day 4, a lot of us realize manual focus. I don't care what camera company you love. There is no autofocus that can get you through the density of that forest when those birds are moving. So you really got to, it's a good tip, like just practice that. Autofocus can get you close, but you got to be able to move that dial quickly. And so, but it's once you got used to it, you're like, okay, cool. Like this is what it's going to be. And I shout out to the Yuhinas too, because they make the most absurd little noises when they roll through, and they all have different ones, and they're just silly. Like my buddy, our buddy Jeff Kinney always talks about goldfinches always sound like they're having fun. And that's what Yuhinas sound like to me. They're just partying all the time.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, it's
pretty
amazing. There was a lot of talk, a lot of camera talk the first days where we're like, are you getting this? I'm not getting this. Like,
There's a lot of camera talk, and there's a lot of us that were ready to yeet our cameras off a cliff. Because they weren't doing it.
I bet there were some cliffs to do that.
There sure were. Like once we got out of Bampu, we were, as we went up through what was the pass we went through to get to Bampu, where it's like 9,000 feet?
Eagle's Nest.
Eagle's Nest Pass, right? And we had stopped up there we had a hard visual dip on a Timex Tragopan. The thing was right behind the tree in front of us and never came out and scooted away.
There was a pair of them, and they were right there.
Oh man, there was
Yeah.
It was tough. And so like stuff like that. But, we had a bunch of great tragopans. Like we had Blythe. I was sick one day and the team went out and they had great looks at a satyr tragopan up there past Tawang. And then we had good blood pheasants, which are
the blood pheasant photos are cool.
Yeah, those things were.
Jason spotted our first good. We'd seen him like briefly kind of in the snow, which was like real atmospheric. But you couldn't really
in the snow after we almost died on Sailor Pass? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. After they'd removed the chains from the tires and we
oh no.
Yeah, I can tell that story.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so I'll get to the blood pheasants, but like Sailor Passes, we were going up from Durang up to Tawang, right? And you go up Sailor Pass, it's a mountain pass. So you got these switchbacks, you're going up a mountain. And when you're that high, starting to get above 10,000 feet, you're just driving through clouds, right? And so I've never been to the Andes. So this was my first time.
Right.
And George can tell you I did not enjoy driving on these cliffside roads because I wasn't driving. I was trusting other drivers. But you get up there, it starts to get foggy and, snow starts to fall. And we're in these essentially 4x4 minivans. And these things are tough. Like, they're not bad vehicles, but like, you're like, oh, I feel like I need a Jeep or like a F-150 up here or something,
Yeah.
So we get out at about 12,000 feet. Snow's coming down a little bit. We're looking at this mountainside that looks like Matterhorn from Disney World and Disneyland, just jagged cliffs and snow. And somebody spots a Himalayan modal. And the thing is just sitting out on a rock, preening in the fog and the snow. It just looks incredible. Right. So we were all feeling good. Get back in the vehicle, start going up the mountain. Snow starts to come down. I think I was in the first or second vehicle at that point. We get up there. We're the only vehicle. Where's the other two vehicles?
Oh.
Yeah. Where's the other two vehicles?
You were in the first vehicle. I was in the third. The second vehicle was the one that proved to be a little problem.
Yeah. So one of the keys, which I realized as people were telling me the story after the fact, is as you're driving in that snow up those switchbacks, you can't stop or else you can't restart. Well, the second driver, for whatever reason, stopped, couldn't restart. Third vehicle almost got stuck. So some homies had to do a little trekking on foot to get all the way up to Sailor Pass.
Holy
but
cow.
We get up there, snow starts dumping, right? And luckily there was a just incredible little hut where they served food, and we had Maggie, which was noodles and eggs, and we sat around a wood stove, and we just made the best of it. The army came through and plowed the road.
Remember, no
bathrooms. I wrote my name in the snow. Such as one does at 13,700
You conquered the
feet.
pass, so yeah.
Right. So, we did that. They cleared the road. We made our way down. As we were coming down, we had very fleeting views of these blood pheasants. They were kind of off in the woods. And the cool thing about blood pheasants is they run like velociraptors run in the Jurassic Park movies. So they're very kind of forward leaning and long. And the way they just scutter through the forest and they make these cool, like kind of whistly sounds. So they sound like little velociraptors. Like, they're really funny. And so we saw those, and I thought that was going to be the best it got. And then as we were above Tawang, walking through the mountains in the days ahead, I'm a wanderer. So I can't just sit in the same spot for 30 minutes. So I started walking down the road by myself, and I hear a few. I text the homies, they come running down the hill. We were able to coax a couple out, and man, they just hopped right in the sun in the middle of the road, and just the red and the green, and they're just so silly, and they're just probably one of my favorite birds. But like, if you're planning a trip to that region, like that's a bird you should look forward to seeing, because I think they're just really special. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
We were like, the rest of us were kind of like fumbling around over like a female rosefinch, and I see this text from Jason coming. He's like, "I've got blood pheasants," and we were like, "We gotta go through the rosefinch,"
Man.
And you're at elevation, so you get regularly reminded: do not move too fast, as I did when the homies were out hunting for the white-browed tit warbler. Right? Is that what it was? Yeah. Like, I tried to follow them. I got a headache because I was doing too much, being too extra. Had to go sit my peanut butter self in the vehicle for a while.
I dipped on that one as well. Hopefully connect with it on a future trip. But I think Jason and I both shared two of our like blood pheasants, definitely top bird. Two other birds that I think really entered that conversation as well was Grundala.
I was waiting for that.
Yeah.
Speaking of spectacles from the cars.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and that was one of the things we were looking for at Sella Pass, but the snowstorm put the kibosh on that. And so we had to go back through Sella, and we were just hoping for reasonable weather. And, we're looking around, and the weather was pretty good that day. And we had one group that we kept running into this other group of Brits during that last part of that trip. And they were looking for most of the same stuff we were looking for. They'd been enduring the same kind of weather. And we had this group of 7 Grundala come in and land like on the road all around us. And yeah, I mean, that was pretty damn magical. Another group of 14 basically did the same exact thing, except there was one that actually landed on the car, flew I think, Jason, I was next to you, and it flew right past us. Like, we literally could have reached out and touched it.
It almost clipped our homie Naveen in the face.
Yes.
Which was great, because this is the best part about birding, right? It's like, especially when you're with homies that you're with for a while. Naveen had a top 5 target list of birds, and I think 2 or 3 of them you could only find at Sela Pass. And so he was pretty bummed the first time we were snowed out up there. And so when we get up there the second time, this thing lands on the car right in front of him and then flies right at his face, as if to say, are you happy now? You got me, And so I was so happy for him, because the blue and indigo and purplish colors on that bird, like, I posted a picture on Instagram and I was like, this has 0 saturation. Like, this is the true color of this bird. Like, and so
just one of the bluest birds in the world
I
in a
don't
snowscape.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Because there's like, you got like indigo buntings and some other stuff, and you're like, oh, bluebirds aren't actually blue. It's just the light reflecting and refracting and back into your eye. And then you see these things and you're like, what radioactive mutation did you get to push that color into my eyeball? Because that is, and at that elevation.
Yeah.
Why would you evolve that?
I feel like half of that bird, I mean, the color is ridiculous. The proportions are gorgeous as well. But I do think the setting is just like, it makes it different. And I also feel like your camera sensor, like, it feels like it's just burning a hole.
Yeah.
That color is just burning a hole in your sensor. Like, it was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
We felt very lucky. And then, Jason, you ran into some of the Brits.
I did. I had a nice soft flex on the airplane back from Guwahati to Delhi. I got set with like 7 Brits, and a couple of them we had seen up there on the mountain. And they, we start doing the normal birder thing. Like, how'd you do? What'd you see? What'd you not see? Right. And I think I was complaining about the partridge that we didn't get a good look at. And they were like, oh yeah, we got it. And I was like, did you guys get Grundala? And they were like, no, they were pretty far away. Like, we saw them, but they were super far away. And I was like, oh, well, we had one land on the car right in front of us. And they were like, no. And I flipped open my iPhone, and I just, how your iPhone, when you upload your pictures, you got like 800 shots of the same bird. I didn't even show a picture. I just showed my gallery with that blue color. And I was like waving it around the plane, and all 7 of them in different rows were like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Like, So, birders, we are silly, but at our heart, I think still a little bit competitive at times. So, we had struggles with weather too on that trip. So I think that was the moment where I was like, oh, we actually did really good. Like, considering the rain in Bampu Camp, some of the snow on Sela Pass the first time, the fog would roll in different spots and make things virtually impossible. But man, we came out of there with above 300 species, which was really awesome. So.
Yeah.
Myzornis was another amazing moment. Fire-tailed Myzornis, me and Jason and a couple other friends. We had all seen one together pretty well, and then, but it was like quick, And then on our way back through, we were like, all right, let's split up a little bit. Maybe we'll have some more luck. So we kind of had 2 groups looking, and our group found these Mizornis that were just feeding in those rhododendron blooms. And that was like, just.
Did you edit those pictures yet, George?
I did, yeah.
I think you should drop some of those on the old Hillstar Instagram if you haven't yet. But
yeah, we'll do.
Just that contrast of the green bird against those bright pink rhododendrons, and it was our first stop in the morning, I think. Right, we had just gone past the one spot. We had the yellow-rumped honey guide, which was another special bird.
Yeah.
And it was just me, you, and Naveen, and like those birds are right in front of us. Now, me, like an idiot, deleted all my photos by accident of that bird and that experience. But luckily, I had one back of the camera. But it was just one of those moments that, you don't forget as a birder, because it's like the pure birding joy of just, this bird is blessing you with the privilege of looking at it while it just does this thing and feeds for a few minutes, right? And like that, I don't care if you're a dude chasing or a woman or anyone chasing 10,000 birds or your first 10 birds on your life list. That is the connecting line of joy, right? Of like when you get a special bird and it gives you a moment with it, right? So like that was awesome, man. That was a good one.
Yeah. That's another one for folks to Google. Fire-tailed Mizornis. It's like a bright green bird with bright red tail and nice black and white markings. It's a beauty of a bird.
And living up that high. Like, it just makes no sense to me. Again, I haven't been to the Andes, so.
That's what just doesn't compute with me when I look through this checklist, because then you have a ton of really nice, colorful flycatchers and some of these kind of widespread Southeast Asian birds. And then you've got a whole bunch of laughing thrush. and then there's southern nutcracker, parrotbill.
Yeah.
Some of these, it's just, what a crazy combination of birds. And that's not to say of all the pheasants and all of the big charismatic birds that you're targeting at that level too. It's an incredible variety of birds.
Yeah, it really is.
Would you guys say it's slightly like, me having never been to the Andes, like is the Andes kind of a more limited sets of families or genus of birds? Or would you say, George, the diversity?
Compare children.
Well, I'm just saying, like, do you got cool pheasants in the Andes? Do you have nutcrackers? I'm sure there's no.
You know what you're doing right now.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like South America is the bird continent.
It is.
Yeah, it is the bird continent, but the Himalayas are. The Himalayas also.
I mean, there's the number of species. I mean, we've talked about this with multiple old world destinations, right? And then there's just the diversity of what you see. Like when I say there are, I don't know, a couple dozen flycatchers, it's not a couple dozen same combinations of brown and yellow, and you have to, look at some different proportions and that sort of thing. These are like drastically different birds that you're seeing on this checklist. And I mean, I think it's pretty cool.
It's a great bunch of birds. It really is.
Yeah.
This is why we all wanted to do it, and why we've been, you can only lust after tragopans and Mizornis for so long before you find it.
That's a saying, right?
Yeah. And maybe that was a special part for me that I had never experienced, is I got so many euhenas. I got so many fulvetas. I got so many warblers, so many flycatchers that didn't even go by the name flycatcher. And so that part was really special for me. It does make you feel a little poor here in the United States with our bird family sometimes, but that's part of the beauty of it, right?
Yeah.
I'd say so.
Yeah, it's pretty cool being with a lot of folks too. Like our buddy Marty had never been to Asia before. And talk about, getting thrown in the deep end. He's a whole bunch of new families for him just right out of the gate. And it was really fun to see the wonder and frustration wash over him. Thank God. Yeah.
Man, he was an assassin though with that camera. He would take pictures of birds that nobody else saw, and then he would be like, "Hey, what's this?" And the last one was a lifer for me. Yeah, it was a speckled piculate. That we all thought was another Philoscopus in Meghalaya, and it hit the top of this tree and then banged out of there. And he got a few photos, and we were like, "Oh man, like that was it," So It just goes to show you, like, when you're with a group of people, like everybody paying attention, having that sense of wonder, you can find some really awesome stuff,
No kidding.
Well, guys, we should probably scoot.
Are you sure you don't want to do another hour?
I would like to. I would like to. Before we go, I do want to tell folks that they should check out the American Birding Association page. Go Google the American Birding Association and check it out. Jason is going to be speaking. I'll be there. We'll both probably be leading field trips May 23rd and May 24th. The American Birding Association's got a community weekend here in Philadelphia, the birthplace of America, as I like to call it. And it should be an epic time. We got a good bunch of folks coming together, and you can register for some of there's a whole bunch of different bird walks going on, Jason's talk. It's going to be a really fun gathering. So check out the ABA site and come join us in Philly May 23rd and May 24th.
Yeah, come through. We've got a lot of our other groups in Philly too. Very diverse group of Philly birders here, which I think if you live in a place that maybe doesn't have that, but you're close enough, come through, come visit, see how we do it, and enjoy some good community. So, I'll be giving a talk probably about why Philadelphia is the greatest birding city in the United States. So if you're sensitive to that kind of thing, just be ready.
Folks are warned.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, we should scoot. But thanks, everybody, for listening. Jason, thanks for stepping in and joining us today.
Yeah, thanks.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate y'all.
Yeah. Everybody, enjoy spring. Get out amongst the birds, hang out with some friends, and see some feather friends. And we'll be back again soon with another episode of Life List of Birding Podcast. So long, y'all.
See you, folks.